And Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So wanted to seek the good blessing, good wishes and blessings of all the devotees so that we can share some wonderful pastimes of Lord Damodar, so that we can please him and also please Srimati Radharani, and with the blessings of Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. So yesterday we were at the point where Krishna broke into the larder and took some of the one of the butter pots and started eating from the butter pot. And we sang the Karuna Bandha sang beautifully the Chorastikam, and it's so appropriate, this bhajan for this pastime. This is, I like this one. You cut the terrible noose of Yamraj. You sever the dreadful noose of material existence, and you slash everyone's material bondage. But you are unable to cut the knot fastened by your own loving devotees. So that's referring to Damodar. So he would freely plunder the homes of the neighbors without fear of being subjugated, right? Because as soon as he ate Mother Yashoda's makhan, he would lose that naughty tendency, because he would the makhan was made with so much love. He would become under the control of Yashoda. But that wasn't the case with the neighborly gopis, because their intensity of love wasn't as much as Yashoda Mai's. So there, he could eat as much as he wanted without becoming a docile do-gooder and a laughing stock of his friends. But this morning, Krishna's anger insulated him from domesticating effect of mother's butter. So he's eating it, but he was furious. So he was enjoying the special taste of her labor, although he was acutely aware that mother could show up at any time. So there was anger, there was a bit of fear as well. And that was all sort of insulating him, if you like, from this domesticating effect of the mother's butter. There was also a problem as he was relishing this special treat. It caused his anger to subside, so giving rise to the fear of his mother's reaction to the mayhem he has caused. He thought, what will happen when mother sees the mess I have made? So there you go. He's looking, he's a little bit of tears in his eyes, fearful, eating at the same time. So his anger is a little bit less, but then the fear has set in. What will happen? Tears began welling up in his eyes, flowing down his cheeks. Who knows what she will do? With thoughts of punishment surfacing in his mind, Krishna sought escape. So the nearest door to the grand hall where the guards stationed. So they will raise the alarms. There's no point going down the grand hall. It's not a good escape route. The only other way was back through the kitchen, not quite exactly through the kitchen, but into the bedroom chamber, and then down the back stairs to the courtyard. Now the risk was Mother Yashoda would see him. So Krishna carefully opened the door. This is the storeroom door. Carefully put the pot of butter, holding the pot of butter to his chest. He was very careful. The nectar he didn't want to drop. He passed through the open space, afraid to look in the direction of his mother. Krishna followed his own buttery footsteps, which he left wherever he went, shedding false tears. Now these were false because he wanted some insurance if he got caught, that she would be a little bit sympathetic to him if he started crying. He noticed that she had just finished cleaning up. When he reached the broken churn, what he had broken himself, he was thrilled by his good work and stomped around in the spilled produce, for good measure. This is really cheeky. Then, feeling very satisfied with himself, he left through the back door and down the stairs onto the courtyard. So he escaped. So this takes us to text number 7. Uttaraya gopishu stampaya puna bhavishya samdrishya chadati atmakam bhagnam vilokya swashutasya karmataj jahasatam chapina tatra pashyati.
Mother Yashoda, after taking down the hot milk from the oven, returned to the churning spot. And when she saw that the container of yogurt was broken, that Krishna was not present, she concluded that the breaking of the pot was the work of Krishna.
So, now Krishna was busy with his divine mischief. His mother, she'd saved most of the milk from overflowing. She placed the heavy pot off the fire. She cleaned the stove. Oops. She then mopped the spilled milk from the floor. She did this as lovingly as she would bathe her son, with the conviction that everything in the house was for Krishna's service, and thus as important as he was. Occasionally, she would glance over to see what Krishna was doing, and Krishna's internal potency arranged that she saw him playing on the floor before an intact churn, patiently waiting for her return. Such a good boy. You said.
Such a good boy.
Yashoda finally returned to her churning pot, but stopped dead in her tracks at what she saw and exclaimed,
Vishnu, Vishnu, what is this? What has happened?
She couldn't believe her eyes. At first, she thought that the yogurt had seeped through the pot, and because they're made of clay, then she noticed the churn had been deliberately broken. Well, it wasn't broken a minute ago, so she was a little surprised because she looked and everything was fine. Krishna was just waiting there. But suddenly, things have changed. There was mayhem everywhere. Yogurt everywhere. And if you notice in this picture, really nice picture, there's footsteps everywhere as well. So,
who dare do such a thing?
Yashoda remained hesitant to blame her little boy, but no one else was present. Besides, who else could be so clever? So she had this mixed feelings. Actually, she was a little bit proud of her son for being brave enough and clever enough to do this. But of course, she was very angry as well. This brief admiration of her son gave way to the realization that what the neighbors have been saying about her beloved son is completely correct. He is naughty. Go on.
So where is he?
She ran to the bedchamber and beyond that to her dressing area. He was in neither place. Returning to the churning pot, she saw scattered footprints and yogurt handprints on the wall everywhere. But where was he? Not wanting to believe that her son may have been involved in this mayhem. But it then dawned on her that Krishna must be the culprit, and in fear of punishment, he has run away. She smiled at the naughtiness, cleverness, and subsequent flight of her darling son. So her motherly affection is just incomparable, really amazing. Yashoda began to follow Krishna's delicate footprints, and as she did, her motherly pride grew with every step. So there you go. She's into what is this area? This looks like the balcony, isn't it? Yeah. And there's these footsteps. And previously, that was the storehouse, actually, the storeroom. Making a show of false anger, she mused.
The pranks of my son are unlimited. His every moment increases his pride, and his every theft increases his bliss. Although his acts disrupt our village, They are also a festival of joy for everyone, especially me.
Yashoda saw the storeroom door ajar and her key dangling from the lock.
How dare steal my keys for my private dressing room?
He's really clever. He knew where the keys were, and they were in her clothes cupboard. Opening the storeroom wide, she was greeted by a band of panicky crows. So we saw the crows in that picture that had invaded the storeroom through a window and set upon her exposed produce. Her whole stock had become contaminated. Counting the pots, she realized that one was missing. She was amazed. At first, she tried to bring some order to the storeroom, collecting the broken parts, but it was just too much for one person. What a big mess. How did he manage to make such a mess? Leaving the mess behind, Yashoda continued searching. She peeked out of a window. So this is going towards the courtyard. And she saw in the courtyard Krishna standing on the large upturned wooden mortar, clapping his hands to catch the attention of the nearby monkeys. Yashoda Mai couldn't believe it, the tenacity of the boy. She watched as the monkeys fearlessly approached Krishna, who sat on the mortar and placed the pot in his lap. Dipping into the pot, scooping out a handful of yogurt, he swallowed half and threw the rest to the nearest monkey. All the others crowded around. Oh, classic stuff. And he's got his eyes sort of in the corner, he's still keeping a lookout, right? Krishna was anxiously looking here and there in case his mother came running after him. Mother, unable to suppress her joy, covered her mouth to keep from laughing. So she found it amazing, amusing as well. The monkeys and Krishna have a natural affinity for each other. By associating too much with those mischief mongers, my son has become as mischievous as a monkey. Krishna was, of course, repaying a long-standing debt to the monkeys, who assisted him when he came as Ram. But Krishna knew that he had crossed all boundaries, and mother will have no sympathy for him when she finds him. So that takes us to the next verse in the Bhagavatam.
Ulukhalangre upari vyavastitam markaya kamam dadatam sichistitam hayagavam chorya vishaketi ksharanam nirikshya pashyat sutam agamachana. Krishna at that time was sitting on an upside-down wooden mortar for grinding spices and was distributing milk preparations such as yogurt and butter to the monkeys as he liked. Because of having stolen, he was looking all around with great anxiety, suspecting he might be chastised by his mother. Mother Yashoda, upon seeing him, very cautiously approached him from behind.
Yashoda cautiously, so as not to slip on the buttery remnants, followed Krishna's footsteps down the stairs towards the courtyard. Although Krishna is the intelligence of the intelligent, right? That's what he says in the Bhagavad Gita. I am the intelligence of the intelligent. He mistakenly sat with his back to the house, giving his mother the added advantage of sneaking up on him. As mother came into courtyard, she noticed her husband's jeweled walking stick against the wall. He must have forgotten to take it. She grabbed the stick, thinking that
I will not hurt him, but I will give him a good scare.
Krishna was alerted. Mother's coming. So there you go. He's got his back to Yashoda. But he was given some very strong hints. It's said by Vayu and maybe the monkeys as well.
Starts chattering.
He spun round, saw his mother with a stick. He was shocked. He did a double take. Did she really have a stick in her hands? He knew that punishment was inevitable, but a stick? She had used a stick previously to chase away the monkeys and herd the cows, but never to discipline him. Is she really coming, threatening me with a stick? Jumping from the mortar and landing on his chubby feet, Krishna had another look at his mother. Was this all real? Is she really coming at me with a stick? Dhammata yastem pasamikyasya satvaras tato varayuya pasasara bitavat gopiyannavadavannayam apayoginam shamam pravestum tapasharitam manaha.
When Lord Krishna saw his mother, stick in hand, he very quickly got down from the top of the mortar, began to flee as if very much afraid. Although yogis tried to capture him as Paramatma by meditation, desiring to enter into the effulgence of the Lord with great austerities and penances, they failed to reach him. But Mother Yashoda, thinking that same personality of Godhead Krishna to be her son, began following Krishna to catch him.
She was, and she ran. He ran. As did the monkeys who all scampered up the nearest tree. So there you go, little Lala being chased by Maya. The demigods and sages who were fortunate enough to witness this scene looked on in wonder, mesmerized by the collage of Krishna's transcendental beauty, abode, and pastimes. Although there are many incarnations and deities throughout the universe, none could compare to the charm of this child. The demigods conversed amongst themselves.
Is Krishna really afraid or just running as if we're afraid?
He looks afraid to me. And she looks determined.
Extraordinary. For the crime of stealing fresh butter, the Supreme Lord is being threatened by a stick-wielding gopi. Moreover, he who is feared by demons and demigods alike is running away in fear of her. In this land of Gokul, there is no chance of pretense for even the Supreme Lord. The law of sweetness dictates that he behaves like an ordinary child. We must therefore conclude that he is full of fear.
This is what the demigods concluded. Such a display of emotion may be bewildering, even to the learned, but the Lord's associates say Krishna is possessed by thoughts of fear. What to speak of the demigods? Krishna was bewildered by his own conduct. So it wasn't just the demigods. Like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva were also thinking, hang on a minute, we've called the Lord down to help us, but he's scared of his own mother. How is he going to help us? That was one of the thoughts going through their minds. But not just them. Krishna himself was thinking, why am I scared? Why am I running away? Even the yogis who meditate on me through excruciating penances and over a long time, yet I personally remain far from them. If they can't catch me, then why should I fear this gopi? Krishna answered his own question. Because she holds a secret of unconditional love. And that love can control, catch, and punish me. So this we were looking at yesterday. The demon Kalayavan would run after Krishna, never to reach him because of his own sinful ways. Yashoda Maya was not sinful, but was pure and loving. From Kalayavan, Krishna walked leisurely, but from Yashoda Maya, he had to run. That said, Yashoda Maya was still a good distance from Krishna, although the force of her loving desire bridled him. Neither could she catch him, neither could he escape. It was a tug of war in which they were, for the time being, evenly matched. No matter how much they tried, mother and son remained one arm's length distance from each other. Never any closer, never any further. Run as she might, she could not get any closer. Run as he might, he could not get any further. So this was very interesting. Always just one arm's length away. Yashoda called to Krishna.
Stop running! Stop, you thief and liar! How dare you run from your mother? Stop where you are.
Slowing somewhat, but keeping his distance, he turned and he called over his shoulder, I will stop if you drop your stick.
If you are afraid of punishment, then why did you break my butter churn and ransack my storehouse?
I will never do it again. Please drop the stick. However, Yashoda Mai was still intent on catching him. So she tried another approach. He tried. So he tried another approach, with long wailing sound and showers of forced tears. He publicized his tale of woe, thinking that mother will be intimidated if I attract the attention of the neighbors. However, mother was not intimidated in the least and continued to chase her darling boy, even making it known to him of her intentions with the whoosh, whoosh of the swinging cane. After chasing Krishna for it seems ages, Yashoda Mai was tired, sweat pouring down her cheeks, her hair loosened. He said her flowers from her hair also dropped. But Krishna was also tiring, thinking, where is the shelter for me in this world? And he called out in distress, please drop that stick. Do not punish me with it. If you drop it, I will come to you. So then we come to text number 10.
Anvachamana janani brihajala Kroni Parakanta Gati Sumadhyama Javena Vishram Sita Kesha Bandana Achyuta Prashuna Nugati Param Sayat. While following Krishna, Mother Yashoda, her thin waist overburdened by her heavy breast, naturally had to reduce her speed. Because of following Krishna very swiftly, her hair became loose and the flowers in her hair were falling after her. Yet she did not fail to capture her son Krishna.
Considering her own fatigue and his pitiful plea, Yashoda Mai made as if to throw the stick away, when actually hiding it behind her. And she exclaimed,
I have thrown it away.
Krishna was deceived. He slowed, and by turning towards her, slowed even more. With Yashoda Mai still running at full speed, the mystical arms distant vanished, and she managed to wrap her right hand around his right wrist and triumphantly said,
Now you're caught, rascal.
He looks quite distressed. Touching Krishna gave Yashoda Mai ecstatic feelings, unattainable by prayers of the Brahmanas, the speculation, the Gyanis, or meditation of yogis. Krishna was now arrested by the glorious love of Yashoda Mai. So his touch gave her incredible ecstasy. This is what happens when you're with the Supreme Lord. Initially, Brahma and Shiva were upset to see Krishna exhibit fear of his mother, but now they were completely bewildered to see her capture him. If Krishna was so susceptible to a gopi, how could he really protect them? Krishna whimpered, Mother, please do not beat me. So this brings us to text number 11.
Kashantam Parudhantam Akshini Kashantam Anjan Masini Swapanina Udviksha Manmaya Vivalekshanam Haste Gritva Vishayanti Avagurat. When caught by Mother Yashoda, Krishna became more and more afraid and admitted to being an offender. As she looked upon him, she saw that he was crying, his tears mixing with the black ointment around his eyes. And as he rubbed his eyes with his hands, he smeared the ointment all over his face. Mother Yashoda, catching her beautiful son by the hand, mildly began to chastise him.
He started emanating a stream of sweet, indistinct words which were nectar to the ears of Yashoda Mai. Fully realizing he was helpless in his mother's grasp, his mumbling transformed into sobs. Yashoda Mai thought,
In his disturbed condition, this boy is likely to do anything. He is so strong-willed that he may even run away into the forest. Better I secure him to an immovable object until he is composed. I will tie him down, she thought, unless he surrenders and calms down.
Krishna wasn't ready to surrender yet. He tested Yashoda Mai's grasp, but she held him tight. He remained unwilling to admit guilt, but his courageous facade was betrayed by his tears. He was afraid. Yashoda Mai kept trying to look at his face, but whenever she did, Krishna turned away. And with his free hand, he wiped the remnants of yogurt from his mouth and body, thinking that the less evidence, the better, and perhaps her punishment would be reduced. Finally, Mother had enough of his antics and exposed the stick. She was hiding. She waved it in front of him and said,
"Do you see this, king of rascals? If you do, then do not try to run away again."
Krishna was shocked. She had cheated. She still had the stick. He felt betrayed. The commotion was attracting the Brijabasis, who were starting to converge. And this was complete ecstasy for them. They were really, this was something completely new, a new chapter in Krishna Lila. Krishna felt increasingly humiliated. He was the leader of the boys and held a position of respect amongst them. Were the boys to appear now, he would become the butt of their jokes and be dishonored as their figurehead. With so many thoughts and emotions going through him, Krishna felt overwhelmed. And after all, he was just a little boy. And he did what little boys do, began to sob uncontrollably. He tried unsuccessfully to conceal himself in the fold of his mother's sari. But she would have none of that. She would mildly push him away. Yashoda Mai's indifference to Krishna was a new feature in the relationship between mother and son. Krishna was expecting something else. He was expecting the warmth of touch and kindness of love with which mother always wiped away his tears. But that was in the past. He had crossed all limits in his behavior, and she wanted him to learn to take responsibility for his acts. Although seeing his sad demeanor, Yashoda Mai almost succumbed to him, to her maternal nature. But the importance of educating him restrained her. She started calling him all sorts of names.
"Oh, Ashanta, Rosagrasta, Mugdapakta, Vanarapriya, Griha Lubdaka. Why have you brought ill fame on your lineage with such bad qualities?
Do you want to say that in English?
O restless one swallowed by anger, greedy one, friend of the monkeys, house thief."
The one that got Krishna was this one, friend of the monkeys. How dare she? Krishna was hurt. Why did she have to call him names like friend of the monkeys? Yashoda Mai continued.
"To teach you a lesson, I'm going to tie you up. And for the time being, you cannot play with your toys or your companions. I also deny you butter and yogurt, friend of the monkey. Reform and stop your mischief. If ever again you want to steal from the house, then remember this stick."
Having said all that, Yashoda Mai let the stick fall to the ground. Krishna breathed a sigh of relief that the stick was not in her hands, but he was miffed by her comments again regarding being the friend of the monkeys and also being denied any butter or yogurt. So that brings us to text 12.
Tvatvayastim sutam betam vignayar bhaka vatsala yesha kilatam vadam damnatat virya korida. Mother Yashoda was always overwhelmed by intense love for Krishna, not knowing who Krishna was or how powerful he was. Because of maternal affection for Krishna, she never even cared to know who he was. Therefore, when she saw that her son had become excessively afraid, she threw the stick away and desired to bind him so that he would not commit any further naughty activities.
She wanted answers. And
how was the churn broken?
Through an act of God, mother. It was your karma. Yashoda Mai was amazed. Where did he get such ideas from?
Oh, yes, of course. And who gave butter to the monkeys? Was that God too?
And this is what Indulekha Mataji was saying a couple of days ago. Ultimately, the same Lord who created them also directed me to feed them.
Could you not wait to enjoy the butter until after it was offered to God? Or do you think you are God? Or is the butter more tasty when it is stolen and unoffered?
What could he say? He is God. Staring at the ground, Krishna drew lines in the sand with his toes. Seeing his confusion, Yashoda Mai's heart melted. Oops.
Be good now and tell me the truth. No more stories.
Krishna looked up and marveled at the beauty of Yashoda Mai. And Yashoda Mai similarly was marveling at his beauty and cheeky nature. Mother, you ran to save the boiling milk, and your anklet struck the churn and pierced it, and the butter leaked out. Why blame me? Thereafter, the Lord, he inspired some monkeys to raid your storeroom and steal its contents. Why fault me? Yashoda Maya was mesmerized by Krishna's eloquence, even though every word was a lie. But she wanted to hear more. Then, as I was trying to save the yogurt from the monkeys, you attacked me with a stick, treating me as if I was a common thief. Without pity, you chased me like a shadow, even though I was frightened to death.
Though you're born in an aristocratic family by befriending monkeys, you're taken on their qualities.
There it was again, Krishna compared to the monkeys. Mother, if you think I'm a monkey, then maybe I should go to the forest and live with my monkey friends. Yashodamai was shocked. Things were going too far. Who knows, this boy might just do what he's saying.
I will tie you down right here, right now, so that I can return to the house and clean up the mess you made.
Krishna couldn't believe what he heard. Oh, Rohini, Devi, where have you gone with my brother? Oh, Balaram, come quickly. Mother wants to tie me up. Help, help. Although Rohini and Balaram were too far to hear Krishna's call, it did not fall on deaf ears. The elderly gopis came running, but jokingly goaded Yashodamai to punish the boy. Do you want to say?
How many times we have complained about the havoc your son creates in our homes, and he would constantly ignore us. Now he has plundered your own home, and you finally see the light of day. Let us help you punish him.
Mother agreed, and he must be tied down. The ladies, as well as the demigods, were amazed at the audacity of Yashoda Mai. So these are two verses 13 and 14. Into the Sanskrit.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead has no beginning and no end, no exterior, no interior, no front and no rear. In other words, he is all pervading. Because he is not under the influence of the element of time, for him there is no difference between past, present, and future. He exists in his own transcendental form at all times, being absolute beyond relativity. He is free from distinction between cause and effect, although he is the cause and effect of everything. That unmanifested person, who is beyond the perception of the senses, had now appeared as a human child. Mother Yashoda, considering him her own ordinary child, bound him to the wooden mortar with a rope.
So this is the point. She's wanting to bind him. How extraordinary this gopi is. Although she has seen her son's supernatural powers, the deliverance of Putana, Trinivarta, right, choked him. He was the wind demon, the cart demon. She still had plans to tie him up. Yashodamai required two things to tie up Krishna: an anchor and rope. Near the entrance to the courtyard lay the mortar which Krishna had used to sit on and feed the monkeys. He was incredulous. Yashoda made her intentions very clear. Taking him the few steps to the mortar, she was going to bind Krishna to the mortar.
Since you're so fond of mortars, I will marry you to this one.
Now for the rope. With the graceful movement of her left hand, she took a golden cord that bound her braid at its root. Yashoda thought about which part of him to bind. His hands and feet are too small, and he would be able to wiggle free. Best at the waist, around the belly, as his chubby behind and scheming head would not allow the rope to slip free. Yashoda giggled. Krishna was not amused. Krishna thought, both time and death for me. Does she not? Oops, bit of a typo here somewhere. No, she doesn't. Oh, yes, both time and death are scared of me. How come she's not scared of me? Krishna has no beginning, nor does he have an end. Yet, her motherly affection did not allow Yashoda to think of Krishna as infinite. So he has no beginning, no end. But her motherly affection was so strong, she couldn't think of Krishna as being infinite. Yes, Riyansh.
Priyansh, you have a question?
Mataji, but that Yashoda she used to tie her hair, and the rubber band can only bind Krishna. That's all the Brajavasis see.
That's right. That's right. We'll find that out later. That's good. The first cord was obviously too short for his waist. So she took another from her hair, but realized that she would need something more for the mortar as well. Many Bijbasis were watching this amazing event unfold. Yashoda Mai spotted two of her maidservants, Kurangavati and Lavangavati. She ordered them to bring some soft, smooth rope from the house in a hurry. They ran into the house and quickly brought two churning ropes for Yashoda Mai. The gopis assisted Mother Yashoda and tied the 4 ropes together, and Mother attempted with the help of Lavanga to put the rope around his waist and the mortar. Krishna still can't believe what Mother is planning to do. Who does she think I am? The watching demigods, Bijbasis, sages, birds, monkeys, gopis, guards, etc., all debated amongst themselves about Yashoda Mai, how she will achieve this monumental task. Krishna tried to reason with his mother. Do you think it's right that you punish me like this, Maya? Father would be much more lenient and reasonable and would reason with me. Mother was determined.
You're not just mischievous, but you're also offensive. Tatamapatyayam manasya swarbhakasya kritagasha dviyanugulonam abhutena sandhate nanyakacha gopika.
When Mother Yashoda was trying to bind the offending child, she saw that the binding rope was short by a distance the width of 2 fingers. Thus, she brought another rope to join to it.
Very good. There you go. He's looking pretty terrified. So she made a comment that he was offensive, and Krishna was offended by that comment himself. But anyway, he didn't have time to argue or be bound up. He had to play with his friends. He had houses to ransack. He had ladies to charm. How can you be restrained by some rope? He was thinking. When Yashoda tried to knot the ends around Krishna's belly, it was short by 2 fingers. She tried in different ways, different combinations, but every time the rope was always 2 fingers short. She ordered more rope. All the Bijbasis participated and cheerfully brought more rope, knowing that some extraordinary event was happening. They would tie the ends, and then Yashoda Mai would again try to put the rope around Krishna's belly, but it was always 2 fingers short. Everyone marveled at the phenomena. The demigod said that the Lord is medium-sized. He's infinite and he's infinitesimal.
Infinitesimal.
Yeah. The smaller than the smallest, bigger than the biggest, and also medium-sized simultaneously, and applauded his inconceivable potencies. The Brijabasis were enjoying the occasion, sometimes teasing Yashoda Mai, sometimes encouraging, sometimes calming, sometimes laughing. Verse 16. Yada sittad api nyunam tenanam
api
sandate
santade
tadapi
tadapi
dvi
dviyangulam
nyunam
yad yadadata bandhanam. This new rope
This rope also was short by a measurement of 2 fingers, and when another rope was joined to it, it was still 2 fingers too short. As many ropes as she joined, all of them failed. Their shortness could not be overcome.
Again, evam swagahe damani Yashoda
sandadati
dandadati
api
gopinam
gopinam
sushmayanatanam
sushmayanitanam smayanti vishmita bhavet.
Thus, Mother Yashoda joined whatever ropes were available in the household, but still she failed in her attempt of buying Krishna. Mother Yashoda's friends, the elderly gopis in the nearbyhood, were smiling and enjoying the fun. Similarly, Mother Yashoda, although laboring in that way, was also smiling. All of them were struck with wonder.
Every piece of rope added was intact in its original length, but the aggregate shrank so that it was always 2 fingers short. All the rope in the village, palace, cowshed was used, but it was not to be. Nevertheless, although tired, Yashoda Mai did not give up, and her determination was an expression of her love. The same can be said of her anger and of her sense of obligation to discipline Krishna. Indeed, her entire being was a manifestation of maternal love, and so Krishna accepted her chastisement as such. However, Krishna thought, there is no one to match the loving devotion of my mother. I exist by the grace of the dust of her lotus feet. But that love alone is not sufficient to restrain me. 2 more things are required. This is the significance of the 2 finger with gap. 2 finger gap. Until my devotee exerts themselves fully in service, bhakta parisram, and until I take compassion on them, mat kripa apta, I do not become theirs. So this is the importance of the 2 fingers. Effort and daya, kripa.
Prabhuji means that we have this too, that our efforts and Krishna's mercies.
Very
Krishna
good.
mercy.
That's absolutely right. That's the 2 fingers short. And she's putting a great effort in.
Swamatu Svina Gatraya Vishrasta Kabarasraja Trisva Parishramam Krishna Kripaya Sit Swabandhane. Because of Mother Yashoda's hard labor, her whole body became covered with perspiration, and the flowers and comb were falling from her hair. When child Krishna saw his mother thus fatigued, he became merciful to her and agreed to be bound.
So he saw the effort. While embracing Krishna, Yashoda Mai called for more rope. The elderly gopis spoke amongst themselves that, you want to say?
How unusual that Yashoda Mai can tie her arms around her son, but not ropes. How is this possible?
See here, she's got her arms around him, but she can't tie him still. How extraordinary. Yeah, go on.
No matter how hard she tries, Yashoda Mai is unable to realize her plan. Such an over endeavor. Why does she not give up? You are our queen and advisor to the king in matters of state, but yet you cannot even tie your own baby. There are supernatural forces at work here, and it would appear that Krishna is none other than the Supreme Lord himself.
Yashoda Mai acknowledged their wisdom with a nod of her head. For a brief moment, she understood Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but only for a moment. To her, he may be the Supreme Lord, but he was also her son. She had undertaken to tie him just after sunrise, and although the sun had begun its descent, her efforts remained fruitless. So this was
Sunrise to sunset.
it was just afternoon, right? Okay, came down. She had been trying to tie the knot for hours. Overwhelmed with fatigue and frustration, she sat down to review her plan. Sure, what do we do with this boy? At that moment, Krishna reasoned, she is so determined to discipline me. Such devotional resolve must be honored and rewarded. Perhaps I should give up my stubbornness and let her have her way. My divinity is of no significance to her. How marvelous that her love for me is not tainted by any awe or reverence, but simply a desire to please me, protect me, correct me. The rising compassion in Krishna's heart implored him, give yourself to her, do as she wills. Not because being bound is part of an eternal pastime, but because she wants it. Yashoda Mai wiped her brow and reflected on what has been happening and what has been said by the elderly gopis, and she was giving up the idea of binding Krishna. At this very moment, Krishna decided, I submit. Yashoda Mai had been knotting ropes for hours. Although she decided to stop, by the agency of Yoga Mai, her hand continued the momentum so she could tie one more knot. And that was the knot that bound Krishna.
Maharaj Parikshit, this entire universe with its great exalted demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and Lord Indra is under control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah, the Supreme Lord has one transcendental attribute. He comes under the control of his devotees. This is now exhibited by Krishna in this pastime. Neither Lord Brahma nor Lord Shiva, nor even the goddess of fortune, who is always the better half of the Supreme Lord, can obtain from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the deliverer from this material world, such mercy as received by Mother Yashoda. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, the son of Mother Yashoda, is accessible to devotees engaged in spontaneous loving service, but is not as easily accessible to mental speculators, to those striving for self-realization by severe austerities and penances, or to those who consider the body the same as the self.
Oh, that should be 3 years.
Mm.
As soon as Krishna was bound, the 100 lengths of rope miraculously appeared and fell in the carpet around him, fell as a carpet around him. Seeing this, Yashoda Mai was bewildered. Looking more closely, she saw that Krishna's belly was now bound with the 2 original silken ropes that came from her plaited hair. So that's what Rianch was saying. Only those cords could contain Krishna. All the other ropes for churning had been of no consequence. Yashoda Mai now consciously tied together the cords into another knot and then quickly tied one more knot, just in case. And she also checked that the knots were still there. She kept having a double look, just in case. It's also said, I've read it somewhere, or maybe it was in a class, that towards the end of this pastime, Radharani comes, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah, everyone from Barsana comes as well to see this, and Radharani comes, and then Kirtida takes a braid from Radharani's hair and gives it to Yashoda Mai, and that is the final one that ties up Krishna, and that is the reason why sometimes he's called Radha Damodar.
But Shiva Raj doesn't include that. So not sure that's. Mission accomplished. The transcendental thief has been caught and bound. Now she can move onto the next task at hand. She took the rope that had been tied to the mortar and connected it to the cord encircling Krishna's waist. Then she proceeded to give him one more telling off.
I hope you will now learn your lesson and follow the saintly conduct of your father instead of the mischief of the monkeys.
Krishna thought, here we go again. Reference to the monkey insult again. Yashoda Mai stood up, before turning to leave, addressed Krishna.
You will stay where you are until I clean up the chaos that you made. In the meantime, there will be no play and no toys. When I'm done, then I shall come for you, and we will go and see the Diwali celebrations. Do you understand?
Krishna sheepishly lowered his head, feeling completely humiliated before his friends, and whimpered, yes, mother. Yes, Mai. Yashoda Mai embraced and repeatedly kissed his cheeks and said,
You started this day off as a troublemaker. Now finish it as a good boy.
Telling his friends to stay there and keep an eye on Krishna, Yashoda Mai turned with a victorious smile, inviting her gopi friends to help her clear the mess in the house. Again, showing service attitude to Krishna takes precedence. So she left Krishna to serve Krishna. The remaining gopis, they teased Krishna. Yeah.
Oh Prince, now that you're bound, Dama, around your belly Udara, we shall call you Damodar.
His friends joined in to call Krishna Damodar, Damodar, and Krishna thought that this is how everyone will now tease him. Insult to injury. As time passed and the Damodara Lila became a fond memory, Krishna will treasure that name as one of his favorites. At present, though, it sounded like an insult, and he made his displeasure known with a frown on his sweet face. As soon as Mother Yashoda left, Krishna cast aside his sad face and forced tears. He assumed a composed demeanor and filled the courtyard with the moonlight of his smile. Making the best of his predicament, he boasted to his friends, just see how I kept my mother at bay. The boys answered, it was a memorable exhibition. Now tied to this mortar, what will you do? Bound to the mortar, Krishna still found ways to play with his friends. Friends who are pure devotees wanting to play with him as a child. Remembering his predicament, Krishna's eyes would now and then well up with tears. Seeing this, the monkeys became increasingly excited, and his friends lovingly tried to console him. Some boys tried to ease caution as embarrassing. They tried to ease this embarrassment by offering him a snack. Friend, would you like me to ask my mother for some yogurt? At the sound of the word yogurt, Krishna became aware of his hunger. The skirmish with his mother crossed the timeline of several meals, during which he had not eaten anything, but still he was very sharp. Silly, your mother is at my house. Why bother her? Some of you should run to your homes and see what is available. In great happiness, the boys would run home and bring whatever was available and feed Krishna. In this way, they enjoyed a picnic. Then Krishna started to test the mortar. How heavy was it? He started pulling the mortar. To the applause of his friends, Krishna slowly dragged the mortar here and there, occasionally sitting down to catch his breath. Krishnastu grihatrityeshu vyagrahayam matari prabhu atrakshit arjuno purvam goyayako dhannadatmajo.
While Mother Yashoda was very busy with household affairs, the Supreme Lord Krishna observed twin trees known as Yamla Arjuna, which in a former millennium had been the demigod sons of Kuvera.
Good boy. So, oh yeah. That's you, yeah. His mother's final words to him were still ringing in his ears.
My dear boy, your whimsical conduct has now come to an end. If you think you are so clever, then free yourself of this rope. Go ahead, pull the mortar behind you and go wherever you like.
Okay, so maybe this is a good place to stop. Trees. Yeah, so we can carry on next Saturday. We should be able to hopefully finish it on Saturday. Are there any Damodar ji ki jai, Yashoda Mai ki jai? Are there any questions or any comments?
Yes, Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Kaushalya.
Was really very nice Damodar class. Really enjoyed it. Also, it really touched my heart. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your feedback.
Prabhuji, today's Leela is very nice.
Yes.
This is, of course, Krishna's Leela, and of course.
Legend, I am excited to listen to the Leela.
Good boy. This is Prabhupada's glory, and Shiva Maharaj has he's done such a fantastic book. So it's worth reading that book because I've only taken a drop of it.
Your team with Jayanti Mata is excellent.
Thank you. Yeah, she's the driving force.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, very nice
Thank you,
explanation.
Mataji.
Very nice reading, very nice explanation. You went into depth actually and explaining every bit of it. That was very enlightening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, Shiva Maharaj's book even goes into more detail. It's because he talks about the different conversations between the gopis and the demigods and the birds and the parrots and how they're debating almost every move that Yashoda Mai makes and every move that Krishna makes.
Even Harisuri did the same thing,
Right.
but I didn't think of going into details because there were so many prayers that my Mother Yashoda was offering after the gate, after singing.
Yes.
So it was too much. So I said, no, let's cut it short because time also is limited, right?
Yeah.
But it's very nice endeavor. And as you said, Jayanti Mata she is a force behind you, just like Radharani. She is a force behind Krishna. Here you have Jayanti behind you.
Well,
Well done, both of you.
there was no food in the belly.
Well done, both of you.
No, thank you.
Haribol, I'm on a different phone today.
Oh, okay.
Sharing with my husband. Yes, it sounded like as if you are both have prepared this drama and acting up so well. I was almost thinking we are in a theater.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so actually I wanted Karuna Bunda. Can we sing that bhajan again, the Yashoda Mais? Is that possible?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
Oh, good, because yesterday's recording didn't quite happen because I was trying to record you singing that bhajan on its own, but it never worked. So I wanted to do that today. So I'm going to stop this one. Let me just stop. Where are you?